Thursday, March 27th. We are up and running again and thinking out loud with Sam Batesh, partner in crime. Good to see you, Sammy. How are you, pal?
Oh, I am so good. We'll get to the reason that I want to shed tears this week on something that I saw that meant a lot to both of us, but we'll get to that. I know there's so much we're chomping at the bit for. I am fired up to be here, Damon. What a week. And by the way, what a week this is, what a day this is, and yet it's third and fourth at best on our priority list for what today should have been. We should have woken up. Today's Christmas for so many other reasons, for so many other sports, and yet it's barely on our list. And baseball and even college basketball, which is a huge day for both. And yet I know there's so much else that you and I want to get to.
How many people woke up thinking, oh, Sweet 16, more than they thought, opening day, which means there's been a huge pendulum swing.
It's a shift
here in America, and we will get to all of that. But if you're not starting with football, you're basically asking your audience to tune out right away. And it's what we will talk about as we keep on going here, Sammy. But, the thumbnail is all about some things that are happening and, guaranteed dollars that are out there. There are two guarantees in football right now. Guaranteed dollars matter and the guaranteed bitching and moaning that comes with each and every transaction. It feels like our favorite sport in America is football. Our second favorite sport in America is complaining about football.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And you and I are pretty good at it, but we tend to come to the defense. Most of the time, though, we remind people there are certain things in life you don't need to complain about. I used to have members of my family who would, after wins by the teams we rooted for, would say, yeah, but this happened. And I would say, you know what? I'm just not in the business anymore of complaining about wins. I'm just gonna exit from those conversations. And when it comes to the NFL, it's almost like
this afternoon. No, but we did win.
That's it. It's wins and losses. And when it comes to the NFL, there's so much that the league does right that I like to remind people, whatever you're complaining about, trust me, your other favorite sport isn't doing it as well.
No, not even close. Even close. But there really is. There's almost a level of performative anger that fans now directly relate to their fandom. Like people want to show you how upset they are so you understand how upset they are more than I think they are even really upset. There is so much performative public fandom going on. And I know that this existed long before social media became a place where we can all go really display it and show it. But we are like overdosing from fan misplaced emotion in sports, and it's really driving me nuts. So hopefully we can clear up a couple of things here today.
That's what we're here to do.
Alleviate some concerns, and if there really is some shit that should be bothering you, we will circle that for you and say, yes, there is something to be upset about. Something that I think no one needs to be upset about, and because the show emanates from San Francisco, I feel like we always start with a Niner something-ish. There's a lot of where's Brock Purdy's contract, and look, I've asked that question myself. And now you've got people saying, well, you cleared up all this money and you made all these painful decisions to get to the we can re-sign Brock moment. So where is that moment? And the fact that it has not materialized already means there's something rotten in Denmark or Santa Clara at the very, very least. I really don't think so. Sammy, I really don't think so. Sometimes we are our habits. And the San Francisco 49ers habit of getting all of their player contract and business done at the speed of molasses is kind of who they are. I don't think there's anything to really infer from the 49ers dragging their feet on the contract. Don't interpret dragging feet as cold feet to continue to do business with Brock Purdy.
And again, smart business is more important than quick business in the NFL. Getting it right is better than being right in the moment that the fans want you to be right. Brock Purdy's not going anywhere right now. And I have heard this. It is interesting. I believe it was Mike Florio who said he would love to see a top flight starting quarterback in this league go to the free agent market, which is to say every story that you're seeing about top flight starting quarterbacks in this league is re-signed with current team. Just go back, just look at headlines, right? There are not, this is not starting pitchers in baseball. Starting quarterbacks in the NFL do not leave their teams. They sign long-term contracts with those teams. And why is that? It's probably because the number goes 40, 50, 60. It's a good number to sign, right? No one's walking away from the table. No one's like, oh, this is embarrassing. I'm getting up. Well, I'm going to listen to that conversation, right? You're calling me and you're saying, what can we do around 40 million? That's a good starting place for me to have that conversation. That's why you don't see it. But Florio was saying it'd be interesting if a top flight starting quarterback said, you know what? Thank you for that offer, Buffalo Bills. Let's say Josh Allen MVP, right? If he said, thank you for that offer, Bills. We are considering it, but we're going to go see if Seattle, before they signed Sam Darnold, is interested in the MVP. We're just going to go talk to them and see if they're interested at all, right? Do you think that number would jump from 55 to 64? Right? Would that change the math all of a sudden? If Seattle's only opportunity at having MVP quarterback play was to get Josh Allen, and that was an option to them, how much would they overpay whatever, quote, market value is? So it was an interesting concept that Florio threw out there, but Brock Purdy came up in the conversation quickly. And Florio said, I wonder if Purdy actually would end up with more from the Niners than he would when he dipped his toe in the open market. And that kind of made my brain explode. I did wonder in that moment, because I've been pretty steadfast with you saying I've got no problem with Brock Purdy at a 5 and another digit and million after that. I've got no problem with it. I think he's done enough in this league. I think he's proven it. And he doesn't play for a franchise that isn't in the Super Bowl conversation. So you don't just stumble into leading a Super Bowl contending franchise for 3 seasons if you're not doing something right at that position. Doesn't happen.
Right. I look, what would Brock be worth on the open market is a question that I don't think we'll ever really get to know the answer to. Now, if I'm the 49ers, I'm looking at, all avenues available to me. Sitting down today and signing a new deal is one of them. Playing super hardball, saying you coming on back, risking any sort of holdout. And by the way, I really don't know how you can hold out when you got 2 franchise years behind you. So I don't even think that the Niners have to worry about Purdy calling their bluff. But they could say, we want to pay you $5.5 million for this year and then franchise you twice. We could do that. Now, would Brock Purdy make more money in guaranteed money than the franchise dollars if he signs a new contract today?
In the second year, unlikely. The second franchise, very unlikely, Damon. The first, maybe. But again, it's that second one which has the elevator in it. And remember, a guy that we all would love to wake up and be tomorrow, especially if you're checking the bank account, is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has made a lot of money in this league. And remember, he was franchise tagged by the team that's supposed to love him most. The team that drafts you essentially is the team that loves you most, even though in the year they drafted him, they also drafted a quarterback they thought was better than him immediately. So, right. I mean, they drafted him. He was their second drafted quarterback of that draft, RG3. But Cousins was franchised twice. And that had people talking a lot because that elevator on the second one was so much for that season that he played. But guess what? Kirk Cousins made some fantastic money in those 2 seasons, especially the second one. So that second one would make Brock would be in the conversation of highest paid on a second franchise tag.
Then he got the guaranteed money, obviously, in Minnesota. And I guess we're about to transition to the Vikings here anyways. But just in terms of the hand-wringing of the speed of which the 49ers do business, look, it drives me nuts too. But I don't think that any slow feet indicate cold feet. And what is their recourse? Again, what is the viable plan B if they're not going to be drafting a quarterback, which I don't think they are?
This is not the draft to do it.
It will be, way in the back of the draft, take a flyer just because you should always draft a quarterback. Every draft, with your final pick of the draft, take a quarterback just in case. It's not going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Would you even want it to be? Ask every Niner fan out there right now. Would you rather Brock Purdy or Aaron Rodgers? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but Brock Purdy, first of all, look at the entire slate of free agent quarterbacks. Even throw Geno Smith into the mix, who wasn't a free agent, it was a trade. But Brock Purdy, everyone that was available. Look at every quarterback. Josh Allen was not available. He re-signed, right? That's totally different. Quarterbacks that were available to play for the 49ers instead of Brock Purdy based on this free agent cycle. Who did you want more than Brock Purdy?
Nah.
No. Jameis, Russell, Rodgers, Kenny Pickett. Again, that was a trade even. But Gardner Minshew? Where are the quarterbacks that you wanted more than Brock Purdy that were so readily available that makes exactly what you're saying true, which is where's the vitriol for what you wanted done instead of exactly what's happening, which is, I guarantee you, what do you think? They're not returning the phone calls of Brock Purdy's agents at this point? They're having conversations.
Right. Right.
This is not, Brock is not holding out at this point, right? We're at a fine point. There is no impasse at the moment because there's nothing for him to be doing. I mean, maybe he didn't show up at an event or somebody's birthday party at this point that is a Niners related event, but there's no major OTA. We're not talking about Brock at this point holding out. This is just other guys get paid. And ask yourself this, Damon, because Jaguars fans and Dolphins fans last offseason, they slept really well. You know why? Because their quarterbacks got paid a lot. Those quarterbacks set the market heading into the 2024 season. Tua and Trevor Lawrence. So those franchises in the offseason thought, we got it done. We got our guy locked up. Are Dolphins and Jaguars fans telling us how happy they are with their 2024 season right now?
Right.
Not at all.
Not
that was a disaster. Really, both you could argue both were a disaster. The Trevor one might look worse than the Tua one right now, frankly, but neither one of those are way to go.
And by the way, those are the yardsticks we're walking in with if I'm Team Brock Purdy. And
that's for sure. You better believe it, because as bad as last year was for the Niners, it was as bad for Miami and Jacksonville.
No doubt. No doubt about it. By the way, so I called my buddy Ike yesterday because it was Ike's birthday yesterday. His birthday's right after my birthday.
Okay, by the way, how do we not start with the happy birthday, Damon? I'm sure you've done this a couple times on the show, but yes, happy birthday, Ike. Happy birthday, Damon.
So Ike was just in Las Vegas celebrating his birthday. I call him. He's like, hey, man, I'm in Kona. I'm like, what are you doing in Hawaii? And he told me that for his birthday present, he opened up an Ike's in Kona in Hawaii. He is now, technically that's overseas, even though it's still domestic. It is not the continental United States. So there you go. Ike, the ever-expanding franchise is happening. I'm so happy for him. Over 100 stores. Get yourself to Ike's. Get a delicious sandwich. Again, they're not opening bad sandwich shops in Kona. You're not allowed to do that.
Not at all.
Get yourself to Ike's. If you're ordering for your office next week, check out Ike's Catering. Make sure you sign up for the Ike's Rewards app. By the way, everybody who is signed up for Ike's Love Rewards app on Ike's birthday got $4.70 put in their account because he's turning 47.
That's beautiful.
For your birthday, if you're signed up, you get a free sandwich. So not only did I get a free sandwich this week, but he also gave me $4.70 this week. I am in the red when it comes to doing business with Ike for sure. And I thank him as always for sponsoring the Plus and everything we're doing over here, my friend. Let me tell you about the boys at the Dubliner 2 in West Portal. You need a cold. Well, here's the thing. Not ice cold, because no one wants an ice cold Guinness. Serve it at the right temperature, you bum. That's all I want. It's the best pulled Guinness in the city of San Francisco. Get yourself to the Dubliner West Portal. Go there for your Warriors games, for your NCAA tournament game. Where are you watching? Logan Webb at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Play a little hooky, get to the Dubliner West Portal, and enjoy a little opening day over there. So thanks to my sponsors. Could not do it without you. Would not want to do it without you. And again, things are going well when you're opening up in Kona.
That's pretty outstanding. And by the way, one other sponsor I want to add here today, and it's a little, I want to say this much. This is called, I'm going to teach you something also, Damon. Stata's Hamantashen. Okay. This is actually my Aunt Marlene opened up a new business. Hamantashen is in the Jewish tradition, it's an amazing dessert, an amazing cookie that she is now selling all over the East Coast. Purim is sort of the holiday that celebrates Hamantashen, but it is a beautiful it's a shortbread cookie with jelly in the middle. Stata's Hamantashen. Go and check them out. Stata is actually the term for grandma in that tradition, but yes.
Yeah, that's like
Stata's Hamantashen. There you go. They are outstanding. Nobody makes it better than Aunt Marlene. And I just wanted to give her a shout out because we're very proud. We've urged her for years. These are so good. We eat them, of course, but people will pay for these. And now they are.
So now and I believe you're part of the reason why it's been conferred upon me, honorary Judaism. I did not know that cookie. I know exactly what it is. I see it with my eyes. I see it in the cookie case.
Yes.
I did not know that was called Hamantashen.
Hamantashen. There it is. Damon, And again, yes, you and I spent many formative years together, and you are an honorary Jew because of that time together. And there you go. Everyone enjoy some Hamantashen, and Stata makes the best. We know that.
There you go. That's a solid sponsor.
There it is.
Go to awordyoukannotspell.com and order your Hamantashen.
I will get it in the link here. We'll make it happen.
So anyways, look, thanks to the sponsors. Thanks to all of you. Hit like and subscribe. By the way, Sammy, for the first time, I got a video that's gone viral. I've added like 3,000 subscribers in the last 3 days.
What do we got?
Because of this Steph Curry video breakdown. It is approaching, I believe by the time I go to bed tonight, it will be at 2 million views.
Wait, time out. This is
I've gone
okay. What this is? This is YouTube 2 million,
yes,
or where?
2 million. So right now, I've always whenever I get a views over 48 hours, for anyone who's on YouTube, they measure views and how many views you get over 48 hours. Whenever I've gotten to the 100,000 number, I'm cooking with fish grease, right? When I have a 4-hour period where it is 100,000 people have viewed my channel, it was a really, really good 48-hour period. Let me show you, if you don't mind.
Give this. No, please.
The last 48-hour period. In case you can't read that, I've had 950,301 viewers.
So forgive my ignorance. Please tell me what exactly this was as I get it up right now. But please tell me what it was. Who is it? Is it you solo? Who are you with on this? And
it's how Steph Curry cooks defenses. It's just like a little film breakdown of him moving around the court. It was done with AI.
No way.
I didn't even fucking do it.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Incredible? And by the way, on the eve, we were talking birthdays, the Steph Curry breakdown on the eve of Rick Barry's birthday, which is the 28th, which is tomorrow.
Hey,
Rick's birthday tomorrow. Yes, it is Rick's birthday.
Tomorrow. I like
He calls me on my birthday every year, Rick, and I call him on his because he shares my dad's birthday. So definitely Rick Barry, way to go, but excited for him. That's awesome, Damon. 2 million doesn't just happen.
No. But I guess the point is it did just happen. Like, I think I got so many things that are so much better than this out there that have not done anything, and this has taken off. I will be at 2 million. I've never done 2 million of anything in my career.
Guess what, Damon? And it happened here. And it happened here. Of all the things you never thought would happen on YouTube, it happened here. I'm so fired up for that. And by the way, I loved what you tweeted out. By the way, I think it was an older video, but the Steph full court from the full court shot of Steph that you had tweeted out this weekend. And I think I answered you on X as well. I said, I'm sure Kevin Durant's got a lot of teammates that can do that. But that is such an unbelievable Steph moment in his career that doesn't go down. It doesn't count anywhere on a stat sheet, but it's just one of those, wow, how can you be human, Steph Curry?
So freaking casual, right? Like, so just I'm going to whip this ball 115 feet, nothing but net. And I'm going to turn around like it was a layup.
And it's like a golf shot with a slice in it too, right?
Oh, that thing had English on it. It had English on it.
Really? I mean, I just who are the trick shot guys? The dude, wow, guy. They could only dream of doing what Steph did with that basketball.
It's incredible. It's really, really incredible. And again, it's crazy. I've watched Steph take, it's not even exaggeration to say that I have seen Steph take 500 half-court shots. Sam, he's hit 210 of them. I mean, like, he's nearly 50% from half court, this guy. It's unbelievable.
The most memorable moment from All-Star Weekend Sunday, the Sunday of the All-Star game, the most memorable moment was the half-court shot. The Beast had the competition between Dame Lillard and the fan who was going to win the money if he hit one half-court shot before Dame Lillard hit three. How unfair would that have been if they had Steph out there? Steph would have gone bang, bang, miss, bang, and the other guy would have barely had a shot up. It would have been over.
The guy doesn't even have the ball off the rack, and the thing's over. Steph got him. Anyway, look, thanks to everyone. Again, like, subscribe. Don't just do it over here. Do it over on Sammy's channel.
Yes, please.
And Siciliano got a great thing cooking. And again, we are all in a new, strange place together. And it's good to be here.
But I love the viral. I love the viral, Damon. That is fantastic. Good for you.
On viral. Oh, my God. Anyways, where were we? We talked about Brock. We talked about Aaron
we did Brock. And again, just to everyone out there, yes, Brock's going to get paid. I think steady is the right way to take that, but he's going to get paid. He's going to be in the conversation with highest paid. And always remind yourself that Patrick Mahomes is not the highest paid quarterback in the league. Whenever you want to complain, just remember that.
Right. His record-setting, highest-paid contract in the history of football is dwarfed by like Myles Garrett money now. It's
for sure. And Max and Dak. I mean, there's a long list of guys that outperform him in that way.
Anyone who ever told you that a job in sports talk radio was a hard job never really actually had a real hard job. Now, there are some pressures, I guess, that are attached to any public position and blah, blah, blah. But to me, the whole thing was just a smooth downhill pedal. Like, I loved it. I did sports talk radio. The hardest day to do sports talk radio has to be so much easier than the hardest day a cardiovascular surgeon has. You know what I mean? Like my hardest day is still a pretty damn easy day. Well, there are no easier days coming in NFL markets for any NFL hosts than the good folks at WFAN, because New York City not only got the easy to strip away with your cynicism veneer of Russell Wilson to kick around, they've also brought in Jameis Winston, who that's not a veneer of personality. That's real. Authentic. That's who he is. And first of all, Jameis Winston is about to be the single most popular QB2 in the history of football the minute Russell Wilson throws an interception. If Russell Wilson does play well for the Giants, he will be heralded in the moment, but that city will look to turn on him and Sierra as fast as humanly possible. And don't forget, the people's champ is the third string quarterback, Tommy Cutlets, anyways. So there is no easier fall on sports talk radio than for the good hosts of WFAN. Sammy, it's just been put on a tee for them. Their entire year has already been done.
And that's if they want to go positive or negative. They've got so much content between those two in a positive way or a negative way. And we may see them draft another quarterback. Imagine, and Siciliano brought this up, imagine the quarterback room.
Now, they're not going to do that now.
Imagine if you threw Shedeur Sanders into this. Imagine if you just said we're having an outright competition. We've got Jameis, we've got Russ, we've got Shedeur. Obviously, that's a long shot, but simply look at who they have in that quarterback room, Damon. That is so special. And you said, yeah, as soon as they're going to turn, as soon as Russell Wilson does something. How about training camp? Because now everyone's got viral video from training camp. Russ is going to throw interceptions at training camp. And they're going to be talking about Jameis. Not that Jameis won't be throwing interceptions also, but
eating W's, having a great time.
That snow game, that win against the Steelers, Jameis Winston, was such a special moment this season when he beat the Steelers in the snow. That was such a celebrated moment by everybody in the league. And then, by the way, he followed it up with a loss on Monday Night Football, which was also record-setting. He lost to the Broncos on Monday Night Football in a game where he threw, I believe it was 2 pick sixes in that game, but he also threw for nearly 500 yards in that game.
Old Jameis Winston experience. Everything you could go through with Jameis Winston, you went through in that game.
I love watching Jameis Winston, and when he also had the Eminem quote about a guy in Detroit rooting for him, etc. Jameis is such a content factory, and Russell Wilson will be doubted more than Jameis in New York. That starts right now, because Jameis on Friday night was such a positive story with how nice we have a backup quarterback, and when the unknown was your starter, when it was the unknown of the draft, or maybe you could still remember the story was immediately, we could still bring in Rodgers. There was that was immediate. Like, does Jameis knock out the Rodgers thing? No, not quite. So there was all this beautiful unknown about QB1, and Jameis was this perfect back. Like, just in case it doesn't go exactly how I wanted it to go for QB1, Jameis is perfect. And then Russ shows up, and now everyone's thinking, is that good enough? Is Russell Wilson really the answer? Because that really becomes
being graded on a curve that Jameis Winston has never had applied to him.
Never. And Russell Wilson, if you look at what happened in Pittsburgh, Russell Wilson, when he immediately came in for Justin Fields, that thing took off. Yeah. And Mike Tomlin looked like a genius. But you take the first 6 games and the final 5, and it flips pretty quick. The final 5 games offensively for the Steelers of last season, they are dissecting that at WFAN right now. That is for sure, because it did not go well. It looked more like Denver than it did like Seattle for those final 5 games, all losses.
Totally.
For the Steelers. last season. That was rough. I look, most people find Russell Wilson to be unbelievable in his positivity, right? People, in other words, corny is a word that gets used a lot for Russell Wilson, right? A lot of people find him corny or phony in the way that he portrays positivity.
Right.
I'm going to actually say that the New York Giants organization could use exactly that right now. A humongous dose of positive energy might be exactly what that quarterback room needs.
And then when you multiply that by Jameis Winston, who is easily the most instantly likable guy who approaches a microphone in sports today. Easily. I mean, what is the New York media to do when it actually likes the people it might be covering?
And
I don't
think
think
about
we've ever had that before.
And again, think about all the months that you have to cover before there will be a win or a loss on the ledger. So you're going to have, right? So spinning this negatively is going to be difficult because you're not going to have anything to point to directly that has gone wrong for the Giants until the season actually starts. But does it change the math in the NFC East at all? Does anyone feel any better about the Giants per se with this? No, I would say more from a radio standpoint than from an X's and O's standpoint. I don't know. We don't know. But my favorite part of this is to imagine how the season started in the quarterback room last year with Daniel Jones was inked and it was done. And now this season is Jameis, Russell Wilson, DeVito, and still tons of headlines saying, could we still talk to Rodgers? Are we still going to draft the quarterback? That's pretty exciting. I mean, it's exciting if nothing else because nobody was that fired up about Daniel Jones going into last season. This at least is fucking interesting. That is for sure.
If nothing else, they got interesting officially teed up in the quarterback room for the New York Giants. It's going to be a very easy fall for our good friends at WFAN. Every business out there, it really is a people business. And there is the latest story because we apparently, even though it was years ago, we cannot lay our Tom Brady, Bill Belichick burden down. Like it needs to continue to be breathed life into. One guy is literally like balancing his 18-year-old girlfriend on his beach in yoga poses. And it's not Tom Brady. I mean, that's what's amazing. The guy doing yoga poses on a beach with a young, hot model level girlfriend isn't the quarterback. It's the old coach who's now at North Carolina. That, by the way, that's going to be interesting. I mean, without a doubt, that's going to be interesting. But this Bill Belichick, first of all, so for those who do not know, Tom Brady has a newsletter. Of course he does.
Why not? Why not? TB12 newsletter. Why not?
Why? Who? Why? Okay. Anyways, he wrote, after 20 years together, a natural tension between him and Bill Belichick came to a head. And he went on to, talk about it's like a marriage, and divorce felt like the only answer because they had grown apart. They were serving different timelines in their careers. One was sort of figuring out how to wrap up with the most amount of wins in coaching history. The other was looking for another Super Bowl and the best opportunity to do that maybe isn't here anymore. And like all, relationships that get cheated on a little bit, a wandering eye of possibilities in other places eventually took Tom out of New England, down to Tampa, and we know what happened. And because he won, I don't think Bill was ever able to feel like Bill Belichick again, because Tom went on to have success. He did not. And, what's the best revenge is a life well lived. And Tom kind of had that, and Bill Belichick didn't. And it seemed like there's still tension in between the two of them. What's funny is that at this point, it was so long ago that they haven't rear-viewed mirror the whole thing and had a laugh about it. It's nuts.
At least he showed up at the roast. I have 3 definitive points to make about this. I'll lay them out. 1 is we have a lesson for the 49ers in this. 2 is the Brady-Belichick argument is over with. It was definitively ended very significantly in 2020. And I wish we could have seen something in Vegas that we're not going to get to see. All right. So number 1, Niners. Number 1 for 49ers. is when it comes to Brock and Kyle Shanahan, look at Belichick and Brady, who, by the way, this was not a relationship that had turmoil in it. When you look at a franchise, this is a dynasty. Okay. This is a team that won so much more often than it lost. And on the greatest stage and in the largest of games, this is a team. You think that what the Chiefs are doing right now is impressive? Go back and look at what the Patriots did in regards to showing up in AFC championship games and winning Super Bowls in nearly different generations of time with the same quarterback and coach.
Right.
It's mind-boggling. It's even
different eras with different styles of play, with different people all around them at all times, except for these two stalwarts who, because you got Belichick and Brady, anything is possible.
And sports is so fickle and so quick these days. I'm just going to say, be careful what you wish for in regards to how you feel about Kyle Shanahan, and be careful what you wish for in regards to how you feel about Brock Purdy. Having it right in those two places in all of sports, if they're getting along and if it's working out, and even if they don't get along amazing, if it works out on the field, keep that together. And I'll say it again from Goodfellas, keep your mouth shut. For those that want to complain, because you'd be surprised to see how often front offices are paying attention on X. There are front offices. There is public pressure, and it is not all from the radio and the print media anymore, Damon. We lived in a time when it had to come from the
radio and the print media pressure has never meant less.
Exactly.
Perceived pressure that athletes feel than they get on social media,
because you're getting directly pushed by the consumer, by the customer now, and that is different. In other words, not someone that is paid to have an opinion.
Right.
Someone that is paying to come and watch you do what you do. These are people that are in the store for you. So heed what Tom Brady is saying, which is the tension can mount. And right now, there's a little tension around whether Shanahan wants the contract. That's what people are building up in their minds. But be careful what you wish for, because what you should want is you should want the stability at those two positions. If you're a Niners fan, don't convince yourself that you want another quarterback. Don't convince yourself that you want another coach. Convince yourself that you want these two to be together for 2 decades, because that's what it takes. Do we think that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are going to split soon, or they're going to stay together and continue showing up in the AFC Championship every game?
Look at it this way. Andy Reid was without a doubt going to have walked away by now, but he stumbled into the last officially open and operating diamond mine, and he's not going to lead the diamond mine while all these diamonds are still in there.
And for Niner fans, remember, he was doing it with Alex Smith also. Andy Reid was having some success with Alex Smith, but then Mahomes showed up. And just remember, Shanahan and Purdy are close because they're doing it together. And that's what Brady and Belichick had, and eventually decided, maybe I don't need the other guy as much. There was always that ego about it, and obviously Kraft played a role in that, but just be careful what you wish for. What you should want is to see these two guys together. You forget in the Bay Area, because you went Montana to Steve Young. You forget that most franchises don't do. Favre to Rodgers, that is so rare.
Right.
Montana to Young, it is so rare when you've got a guy that can have you in an NFC championship twice in 3 seasons. That does not happen. Don't pretend that these dynasties happen all the time.
Right, go get another one. Just go get another one. Go get another guy. I mean, that's the thing. What's funny is that Kyle Shanahan lives in this vacuum of the complaints and the gripes don't really add up. Everyone says that Kyle's ego is so big that he can't be a good NFL head coach. And then everyone will say that Brock Purdy isn't good enough to actually win, and it's all because of Kyle and Kyle's system. Well, which is it? Which is it? Is he so good of a coach that he can take a guy off the street like Brock Purdy and go to Super Bowls? Therefore, just always go get yourself a quarterback on a rookie deal. That's easy to do. Or is he, dumb fuck lucky that he just tripped into all of this? And the number one problem in sports is there is such a lack of patience. And I don't even think this is sports. This is the entire world.
In the world. Nothing
gets any chance to breathe anymore. Or the minute that there's any sign of regression, it's, well, end it, blow it up. It's all got to go.
And remember, you when you take the piece out, when you take the coach or the quarterback out of the equation, You don't get the 12 wins from the last season and just start from that point. You're starting back at 0, and just beware. Look at the other teams around you that are trying to get the Niners, even with as bad as they are last season. Go look at the odds to win the NFC in Vegas right now. Look at the odds to win the NFC. The Niners had a disaster of a season, disaster for 2024. And they just had a disaster from a free agency standpoint, right? Go look at the odds. Go look at the odds. And if you're not talking Eagles or Lions, you're talking about paying a premium number on the Niners to win the NFC Championship, because that's how much faith, really, the people that have smart money have faith still in what Shanahan and Purdy are going to do. So beware. So that's my number one in regards to Brady and Belichick, is watch out in San Francisco, because you could be building something spectacular here. Don't take it for granted and realize what you've got and just how close you are. And sometimes close is close enough. This is not, you're not getting burned here. You're in a Super Bowl. You're in NFC championships. That's not, we almost won the NFC West. No. That's winning. Ask the Cowboys if they wanted to be in those games. Ask the fucking Cowboys if they would take the kind of success that Shanahan and Purdy are having right now.
Right.
Just ask that.
Look at it this way. Niners fans have been so spoiled by their father's memories. So they're not even your own memories, right? Niners fans are so spoiled by their father's memories that their level of success, which is success in this league, is only interpreted as total epic failure. I mean, look, you got a broken metronome. Hold on, wait, here he is. Broken metronome. How often does losing 2 Super Bowls happen? Which is harder, making it there or losing 2?
Ask the Bills. Again, with the Bills, by the way, do you think Josh Allen wants to be in 4 straight Super Bowls? Forget about the outcome. You think Josh Allen wants to be in 4 straight Super Bowls, or does he want to lose another divisional game to Mahomes or another AFC championship to Mahomes? Tell me what he wants.
Losing Super Bowls were so easy. I'm sure Lamar Jackson would do it more often than he does.
Thank you. Where did that come from? Well, that's amazing. Whoever said that, thank you.
I just said that.
That's okay. Guess what, Damon? That should be a T-shirt. And we love Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson, for the next 5 years, will probably have the play of the season in this league. Okay? Lamar Jackson is that good, plays the toughest position, plays for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, and is knocking out of the park year after year. And yet, you know what he can't do? He can't get to the Super Bowl because it's not easy. And don't tell me how easy the NFC is in compared to the AFC. It's not. It's not easy. It may be an easier path because you don't have Mahomes and Allen and Lamar and Joe Burrow, fine. But there are still tremendous quarterbacks in the NFC that you got to get through. Purdy is showing up in the games that matter. Kyle Shanahan is putting him in position. And Damon, where do you stand on the Kyle Shanahan blew the 28-3 lead against the Patriots in that Super Bowl?
In the history of coaching football, I have never seen an offensive coordinator receive more blame for a catastrophic defensive failure collapse than Kyle Shanahan had. I have never, the only coordinator who ever got as much credit for winning a Super Bowl than Kyle Shanahan got for losing a Super Bowl was Buddy Ryan in the 1985 Chicago Bears. Okay.
Well deserved.
Ryan and that defense was very, very special. And you could argue that maybe he was the better coach than Mike Ditka. Okay, fine. But Kyle Shanahan gets that loss held against him more than Dan Quinn does. And Dan Quinn was the head coach that night.
And there are a lot of excellent coordinators in this league who can never cut it as head coaches and never get back to that level. Kyle Shanahan, as a coordinator and as a head coach, has brought his team, as they say, the horse to water. He has brought the horse to water in the most important game, in the most important sport in this country, period. He's done that. His name is synonymous with winning at an ultimate level, and I get it. You're comparing him to McVay, who's got the win over him. Right now, maybe you're comparing him to Sirianni, which seemed hilarious when Sirianni had his opening press conference, but it's where we're at now. I'm sorry. To be compared to the 4 guys that happen to have won a Super Bowl more recently, that's a list you want to be on. Sure. They've got it, and I just say build that and just look at Brady and Belichick and don't take that for granted. You're closer to that than you are the worst case scenario.
Brady and Belichick that made that 28-3 disappear. Since we'll go bring it back to
Thank you. Full circle.
Oh, by the way, Steve says 28-3. Never forget. It's amazing that is held more against Kyle Shanahan than it is the Atlanta Falcons as a franchise.
total catastrophe. And Dan Quinn now, I understand, NFC Championship appearance with Washington. He's getting a lot of praise, and he should. He's also got a pretty awesome quarterback that they drafted. But that was not on Kyle Shanahan. Should you run the ball more? Yes. But how 28-3 disappears a lot more on the defense than it does on the offense. All right, so that was my number 1 point. My number 2 point was take yourself back to a time when we wondered who deserved the credit for the Patriots dynasty, Brady or Belichick. And it was isn't
that part of their divorce?
It is. It is a major part of their divorce.
I wouldn't give a fuck if I were either guy. I'd just be like, we're stacking so many Super Bowl rings on top of these fingers. Who cares who's responsible for them? I'm running out of fingers.
I will be paid like a president of the United States for the rest of my life to show up and speak somewhere because of the success that we've had together. Right. No matter what. Right. No matter what for the rest of my life. So who cares? But there is nothing more definitive in sports. We've talked about the percentages of winning a championship for your team and how difficult that is. And yet the Patriots have done it so many times that, again, you get a little jaded by it. But when there is a trade or a divorce or a free agent signing in sports, the ultimate argument ender is championship. And Tom Brady leveled this argument when he went to Tampa and won that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It didn't take him 5 years to turn it around in Tampa. And remember, Tampa wasn't knocking on the door. This isn't Brady coming to what the Niners are now and winning a championship. Brady goes to Tampa where Jameis had thrown for 5,000 yards and they got rid of him.
They had really interesting weapons, but the offensive line was a little bit of a question mark and the defense was a work in progress. But Brady was the steadying, calming force. And think about the confidence that a football team has when number 12 comes walking in the door.
It was so stunning to see. Because now go back and remember, the Saints were hosting the Bucs. I believe it was divisional because I believe I think the Bucs then beat the Packers, I believe, to get to that Super Bowl. But it was a divisional game where they were on the road in New Orleans, and the Saints had swept Brady in that regular season. The Bucs won that game, and that's where you said, uh-oh, maybe this could happen. Before that moment, you were thinking the Bucs had a nice season. Brady got him there. That's cute. There were other teams in the NFC that you were looking out for that season. And the Bucs steadily got there. And if you really go back and remember correctly, everyone thought Mahomes and the Chiefs were going to win that Super Bowl against the Bucs, and it wasn't even close. And it wasn't necessarily Brady that was the best player in that game because the defense was so good against Mahomes that day. But when he won that Super Bowl in Tampa after one season of being there, and in that season, yes, Belichick in fact, no, I think that was the Cam Newton season. So that one was a little disjointed, but interesting. But that ended it. Brady put the ultimate stamp on, I can do this without you.
Yep.
You're not doing it without me. And he can say whatever he wants now about that relationship. Forever he will have that, and he doesn't even have to say it. He can just wink at the room, and everyone knows he did that without Belichick. And whatever Belichick taught him, that's fine. But to be able to take it somewhere else. In fact, look at the road of sorry, sad coordinators that have left Belichick to go be a head coach somewhere and never amounted to any level of success.
Look at it this way. Bill Belichick's coaching tree is the reason why Bill Walsh remains probably still the most impactful head coach the NFL's ever had.
And I will agree. That is the most beautiful tree. That is the apple I want to pull from for the rest of my life, is the Bill Walsh tree for sure.
Look at the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree right now. The guy's only been a head coach for 7 years. He's going into year 8, right? Is that where
yes.
we're?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's already got. Now McVay was part of his staff. He wasn't quite under him, but he's McVay is Shanahan adjacent.
But because if you include Mike Shanahan, it also kind of, right? I mean, it's sort of the Shanahan name is certainly part of that, but Kyle's tree is impressive. And so again,
Matt LaFleur, he's already got Robert Saleh. He's already got Cocaine Mike down in Miami.
Miami, Mike. Exactly. It is a powerful list when you look at all of them together. And I just want to say, look at the coordinators, Romeo Cornell, Charlie Weiss. There's Bill O'Brien, who probably got the closest. Matt Patricia, Josh McDaniels. Look at the coaches that left Belichick and couldn't do it no matter what they had learned from him. And Brady took everything from that building and plugged it in like an HDMI cable in Tampa and won the fucking Super Bowl. That will just forever be, whatever headline ever comes out with these two for the rest of my life, I will remember 2020 as the most definitive moment between the two of them when, you know what? Sit back and it's all
right.
Brady.
So I know you got a third point to make, but we break for supers, and Rob C, who's known as Rob C Note around here, comes in with $28.03. Rob, I mean, come on, 28 to 3. Phenomenal. What is the viral clip? The viral clip is called How Steph Curry Cooks Defenses. So it's at 1.9 million views. It's only been up for 13 days, and it's got 1.9 million views. It's basically, it dwarfs anything else I've done online, and I don't even know how it happened. But watch it, please. Keep that sucker going. Keep it going. Look at it this way. I now know what getting kissed on the forehead by the algorithm feels like. I thought I knew, but I did not know. Now I know. It's
a lot of trial and error, and I wouldn't even call it error. It's a lot of trial on YouTube, and this is simply an ode to the work that you have put in, and again to the characters that you've associated with. I don't just mean off the scenes. I'm talking people like Steph Curry. Like, this is thanks to what Steph Curry is, and for those that want to doubt where Steph Curry is in the GOAT conversation, let's just add the 1.9 for Damon Bruce plus add what Steph Curry means to the world based on that as well.
I'm not saying the fifth title's already been won, but kind of. kind of, Damon. This is a feather in his cap and yours. Congratulations. My third point about Brady and Belichick is only a what if, a what if, and I think we should all just a tiny tear can shed down our cheek for the idea that we could have had, because the conversation apparently happened. It could have been, we're going to see Belichick in North Carolina, and I know you said that's interesting, Damon, but what if Brady running the Raiders could have had Belichick as his head coach? I mean, just sort of a reversal of roles, and just think about the magic that we could have seen in regards to Brady behind the scenes with Belichick as his head coach on an NFL sideline. Forget about the history between what is the Raiders and Brady Belichick. Obviously, all started technically on the Tuck rule, right? There's that magic that would have been amazing. But the fact that you could have had Belichick essentially answering to Brady in Vegas, I'm sorry, but I am so sad that we're not going to be able to see that. I am so sad that we won't get that because this headline could have just as easily come out if they were in this relationship. It might not have been on Brady's newsletter, but it just as likely could have come out about the riff in New England. It's just so much. You talk about the juicy stories in New York, the juicy stories for the Bay Area and for Vegas and for the entire NFL community. If Belichick and Brady were still together in these reversed roles in Las Vegas, I wish we could have seen it. And it also makes me wonder, will we see, remember how it was said that college coaches couldn't win in the NFL, right? I mean, let's just go to the best ever, right? Nick Saban in Miami, nobody is saying that was, right? Bobby Petrino. I mean, the list goes on and on of coaches that are doing it in college, Lane Kiffin, that are not doing it in the NFL. Will we see that Belichick finds success by the way, at a program that is not on the list of favorites for anything, anywhere when it comes to football? Will we see that? It's not as fascinating as him as the Raiders head coach, but I will be really interested to see if North Carolina is in any conversation. North Carolina in the ACC title game in the first 3 years, it'd be amazing. It will be amazing if he does that. I wonder what that meeting is with a 17-year-old senior rising that you're trying to recruit. How is Bill Belichick in that meeting? It's just fascinating. I'd love to be a fly on the wall for all of it. Anyway, look, let's wrap up with this in terms of gripes and complaints and things that just have people always angry at football. We've got Cam Ward having a very impressive senior day down in Miami. Speaking of ACC football, Cam Ward has an impressive pro day. Tennessee mulling over what to do with the number 1 overall pick. Apparently they liked what they saw. They haven't publicly said that they're in love with Cam Ward, but they haven't publicly renounced him either yet. They still say, hey, anybody who might be interested in this number 1 overall pick, pick up the phone. Let's have a conversation. We can talk about it. And that's smart business, Sam. I want as many options. I mean, the number 1 overall pick in the draft literally represents your options go to infinity. They don't stop. Any player you want, any deal that you can have come across your desk, you can do it. You can do it.
And the smartest thing to do in the world is convince everyone that you're in love with Cam Ward.
Right.
Convince them you're in love with Cam Ward. Whether you want him or not, you better have everyone thinking that he's your guy because of someone at that position especially. This is a year when quarterback's going to go number 1. Convince everybody he's your guy. And now watch what lines up, because that ups the price in regards to what someone else has got to be willing to do to get that from you. It also begs the question, is Tennessee going to feel the regret of having Will Levis and now having to get another quarterback that shortly after you drafted someone who was supposed to be your guy? I understand he drinks mayonnaise and that's impressive, but that's still more impressive than anything else he's necessarily done on the football field.
I don't know anything about him other than the jars of mayonnaise.
Which is, I don't know that you're going to want that, in Canton. I don't know that we're going to be talking about mayonnaise and Will Levis, 30 years from now, but Will Levis has certainly not done enough to this point, and especially when you look at what happened with the rookie class of quarterbacks from last season. Because Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, even Michael Penix, made an impact the way that they did on those franchises so immediately, it's going to be difficult for Tennessee not to say, oh, we can get Jaden Daniels and Cam Ward. Let's just do that.
Here's the deal. If you're Tennessee, you literally have not had a truly significant quarterback. I mean, we're going back to what? Vince Young, Steve McNair. Is that where we are?
I think you'd have to. And Vince Young never got to a game. Obviously playing in the Super Bowl, McNair is clearly going to set that bar. And Vince Young, rookie of the year and plenty of special games, but didn't win in the playoffs in a way that's going to put him in the pantheon of greatest ever, and certainly not knocking McNair off that title, a former MVP, co-MVP with Peyton Manning. But
how about this? One of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the Tennessee Titans is Houston Oilers quarterback Warren Moon.
Okay, there you go.
They have yet to really strike oil. Speaking of the Oilers in the department. So if you're Tennessee, I guess my question would be, who you kidding? Who you kidding? Take Cam Ward number 1 overall, because can you actually afford to live in a universe where you had that option, you didn't take it, some other team does, and Cam Ward goes on to be something?
That would be awful. And this is all, look, the hindsight of it is so tragic, because other players, there will be players on defense from this draft that go on to be Defensive Player of the Year or Hall of Famers. It's true. But quarterback is just such a special position in all of sports. Getting it right and getting it wrong and passing up on certain players forever sticks with you. And you've got to get this one right. And you don't need to go back that far to look at a team that could have said, no, we don't want to admit that we made a mistake and we're not going to do it. But the Arizona Cardinals are more interesting today because Kyler Murray is their quarterback instead of Josh Rosen. They may not be, Chosen Rosen, who remember that there was a debate going into that. At a time there was, will it be Darnold? Will it be Rosen? Baker wasn't even supposed to go number 1 in that particular season. Cleveland kind of shocked everyone by taking Baker 1.
Rosen had a huge arm. UCLA was really good. I watched him play there. It looked very legit. Then you heard about the hot tub right in his apartment, and you say to yourself, okay, this guy fucks. Like,
great.
This is what you want. This is the level of
he's a starting quarterback in the world. I'm sorry, that's the life we want you to live.
Right. I don't want a humble, docile, meek quarterback playing by the rules. I want a dude picking up first downs and chicks.
That's it. You kind of rule life at quarterback at that level. And again, quarterback at UCLA. We're not talking high school anymore. Quarterback at UCLA is, I made it. I got college paid for to start for a team that matters. That was significant. Josh Rosen was supposed to be somebody, and Arizona could have said, you know what, maybe we can still support this guy. Maybe we can stand by the fact that we went out and made him our first-round quarterback last year, or are we going to take a first-round quarterback 2 years in a row And they said, fuck it, let's do it, Kyler Murray. And by the way, that worked out better considering where Josh Rosen is today and where Kyler Murray is, period. And sometimes you got to be bold like that. Sometimes you got to say, forget it. And I know we talk so much about holding on to things in San Francisco, but I'm sorry, Purdy and Shanahan are more proven commodities than anything Tennessee's done out of the quarterback position since, like we said, maybe Vince Young.
It's when you got something that's halfway decent, don't look, just because it's not perfect, don't run away from really good looking for perfect, because perfect is really never available in sports. It hardly ever is.
And Tennessee is more interesting, obviously, with Cam Ward there. And I'd love to see it. And it's also I'd love to see a team. Look, I'd love to see the Steelers, who right now are looking at Aaron Rodgers and maybe nothing else. I'd love to see the Steelers. They'd have to make maybe 2 or 3 trades to get up from 21 to 1. But imagine if the Steelers found a way to get up the number 1 because they're so in love with Cam Ward and they think that's their answer. I mean, I'd love to see someone really make a massive play and give Tennessee the house and go get one, or I'd love to see Tennessee draft him one. It's interesting, and I'm so glad that what we thought was a quarterback class that was less than now has a shiny object in it, because Cam Ward, after his pro day, has become that. Everyone is now convinced, oh, Cam Ward's really somebody. Cam Ward is now definitively one, and remember, it used to be him or Shador, and it's now everyone saying Cam. Cam's a shiny object. The draft is cooler with a shiny object. I'm glad we have that, and Tennessee should make the easy decision here.
By the way, Joe Schmo says, that's actually a class at UCLA. Hot tub.
Should be.
It should be. It should be. I can only think of Rodney Dangerfield coming up in the hot tub. Any of you chicks want to help me straighten out my Longfellow?
What a great, an amazing drop there.
Steve, you're just trying to be argumentative.
Okay.
You're just trying to be argumentative, saying Purdy's married to his high school sweetheart. He never picked up anyone in college. So is he bad? No. Here's the thing. If you actually in life find love and you don't have to mask the absence of love with waves of endless faceless pussy that you get to enjoy while you're a young man.
Good for you.
Yes. I mean, here's the thing. When you find love, wrap your arms around it. Do not let it go. Until you find love, wrap your arms around as many things as you possibly can looking for it.
Enjoy the search in the meantime. And that's okay. Yeah. That's okay also. Enjoy the search, especially when you're basically, it is a conveyor belt. If your life is starting quarterback in high school and college, that's a conveyor belt of options that are going to come by.
Right. That isn't so much a hunt for a treasure chest as it is you're walking the aisles of Walmart, and boy, there's an awful lot of inventory here.
It's just there's a lot in stock.
So, okay, we move along to the fact that Sam, you and I were right about the same age. We grew up, in similar ways, and we grew up liking baseball. Unapologetically loving baseball. I remember when you and I were watching that A's game where Jermaine Dye fouled one off of his freaking front of his leg and broke his own leg. And the two of us were like, he just broke his fucking leg on a foul ball.
How did that happen?
I couldn't believe whatever we were supposed to do. We did not go do it because we had to sit down and ponder how Jermaine Dye just did that. But anyway, we love baseball. We certainly used to. And I am very happy that baseball's back. But I got to admit, Sammy, if we're just, if this is a true conversation just among us two guys here and everybody in the chat room, I got to tell you, I love baseball, but I don't love Major League Baseball nearly as much as I used to. And I have never felt less emotionally connected to the sport than I do right now. Now, something is going to happen. Something will happen that will trigger the romantic in me. Someone's going to throw a no-hitter. Somebody's going to go 4 for 4 with a monster day, and I'm going to get, look at that. Cubs will do something. The Giants will do something. Logan Webb will do something. Matt Chapman will make a play at third base, and I'll just go, fuck, God, look at that. And I will love it. But I am, it really is. I have never felt less emotionally connected to the game of baseball. And based on, I think it really is more than anything else, Sammy, as a Cub fan who lived in the world of I've never won it, after winning it in 2016, that was like a cleanse that dropped my intensity down several notches. It was also everything that happened with the A's. Like, I watched this slow moving coup against the city of Oakland, who are hardly blameless in this. But at the same time, this is definitely the will of a talentless owner who wanted to get out of a situation more than he wanted to save a situation or improve a situation. We're watching what happened to the A's now almost not be allowed to happen in Tampa Bay. So there was an option that was never given to the city of Oakland that Tampa is getting to enjoy, apparently. And every other owner in baseball watched this happen and was cool with it. And is the thing, like, here's the thing. If I had to make one T-shirt to wear to opening day, I would not be able to wear my Final Battle of the Bay because that's never going to happen again. Ugh. I wouldn't be able to wear this from my friends at the Last Dive Bar who make the best stuff, and I love those guys. I really, really do. If I could make a T-shirt that everybody could wear to opening day, it would simply say, all major league owners can eat a bag of dicks.
I am so sad with you on this. And I am here in Los Angeles, where obviously the Dodgers have created incredible buzz, and Shohei has brought unbelievable spotlight back to the city and winning the World Series the way that they did. And he's going to pitch this year, and there is excitement around that. But when you talk about what baseball can be, we are an hour into talking to each other about sports. It is opening day in baseball, which we used to circle on a calendar, make sure we were at a ballpark or at least watching all the games. We are talking about football. So I want to say, number one, football, the NFL has simply stolen every month of the calendar. It is just true. March Madness, forget about it. Between free agency and franchise tag and draft and OTA and training camp and Hall of Fame game and preseason.
This is something that Kruger and I have talked about. The NFL looking to capture every minute of attention every day of the year. I cannot believe that they're not starting their own developmental league where you would have the reverse color patterns of. So the Niners minor league affiliate, instead of wearing red and gold, would wear gold and red.
It's great.
The Raiders minor league affiliate, instead of wearing black and silver and black, would wear black and silver. You would have the reverse color tones of the big league uniform to the minor league uniform, and knowing that this was a place where players that you were developing were. If today the 49ers minor league team were playing a game that started at 1:05 opposite of the Giants Cincinnati Logan Webb, the pretend practice football game would dwarf the for real opening day baseball game.
And that is both sad and exciting. I'm going to take both sides. It is sad because you and I remember a time when baseball mattered to that extent, even 1 of 162.
Yep.
It's also exciting to know that a sport we are also passionate about has that many legs behind it, that it can sustain itself throughout months and months of no real sports. And to answer your question, I would say the league doesn't do that in regards to a spring league and real games and potentially having players injured, because it doesn't have to, because we are so excited about the idea that Russell Wilson is going to wear a blue jersey instead of a yellow jersey next year, that becomes more importantly than actually what happened. And remember, baseball actually technically opened a week ago for your Cubbies as well. And yet baseball can't quite capture it. I'm not going to say, what are you doing, Manfred? And what are you doing, baseball? I'm going to say you're just fine. There's just an urgency about what the league has done. And the NFL has it because it's once a week that your team plays. It's not 6 days. And that will just always mean more.
It is.
Your baseball team has to lose. Your baseball team has to lose 10 in a row to have the same impact on your soul that losing one NFL game in the regular season means. Your baseball team has to lose 10 in a row when you look at 162 games versus 17. And that's it. The emotion, you can't swing emotionally as quickly with baseball, and that's why. I will say this. I do like that baseball is still a smaller playoff field. And it is slowly expanding and slowly getting closer to what the NBA is, but at least you still have to be elite to make it to the playoffs in baseball.
Regular season still matters.
It matters tremendously. You have to truly prove something in that regular season. Ask the Giants of a few years ago, going against the Dodgers to see who actually won the division, etc., and who got that game 5 that made a difference. But it matters. And baseball still will have a special place in my heart. Can I tell you about the saddest moment that happened to me in regards to baseball? It happened this week on Tuesday. I drove on my way to the Oakland airport past a place that has meant so much in our history as people and as sports fans, Damon. The parking lot at Hagenberger that used to house 3 professional teams and now houses 0 was a stunning realization for me on Tuesday. To look to my left and think what's going to be on the billboard or what's going to be outside the building, and to only realize that there's basically flea markets and maybe a concert once in a while happening there, that makes me vomit in my mouth. And there's so much said about the Raiders moving, and there's so much said about the A's move as well. It's funny, the Warriors were celebrated because we all thought it'd be more interesting to have them in San Francisco, which I'll admit, a new building and what they built, and they deserve, I mean, again, they deserve brand new shiny things for what they have done. But you almost forget it's that move also that led to that parking lot being a fucking tumbleweed. And that is tragic. I think about the championships that were won in that parking lot.
Chase Center is, by any stretch of, the application of amenities and what you get and everything about it and the acoustics and how the whole thing runs and operates, they nailed it. It's really, really special. I bet you right now, if you just took a general season ticket holder poll saying we can continue as planned at Chase Center or we can move back to Oracle Arena, I bet you it would be about 7 out of 10 would be like, let's go back to the old building.
Right.
As great as this is, there was so much, because I'm going to tell you, Sammy, it doesn't happen anymore. And you know this because you were there when it happened, even though we weren't. Look, it wasn't about Steph Curry at this point. This was the Ike Diagu, this was the Mario Bellinelli era. And you knew that the Warriors were going to lose by at least 8 tonight. You knew they were going to lose this game. But 15 minutes before tip-off, when Two Shorts Blow the Whistle came on, and that fucking whole stadium started bopping and singing and all of it. And it was, dude, I used to say, I mean this with all due respect, Friday night Laker games were Black Prom in there. You would have brothers showing up in their 70s with canes and spats and top hats, and it was just so much soul. There was so much personality to that crowd that just, has not followed to Chase Center.
It's just, it is such a shame to imagine the tailgate that you're describing that was inside for a Warriors game. And of course, the legendary tailgate outside for a Raiders game. And by the way, we used to tailgate for A's games. And, in Dollar Wednesdays obviously you don't want to go.
They were the best. That parking lot was undefeated. The stadiums were questionable. That's not the greatest football stadium. It's certainly not the greatest baseball stadium. And as a basketball arena, again, the vibes are awesome, but it's not super. I loved Oracle. I did. I got nothing bad to say about Oracle basketball arena. That parking lot was fucking awesome. Magic.
It was really magic. I remember parking across the street and walking the overpass when the lights were on for a baseball game at night, and what that felt like. It felt, think about A's and Yankees. Look, don't fool yourself into whatever the attendance numbers were over the last few seasons in the regular season. You don't have to go back that far to remember A's Yankees playoff games in that building. If you wanted 55,000 to show up, all you have to do is put a great team out there and have a nice opponent, and it would happen. That place.
Were you with me at the Marco Scutaro game?
Yes.
Marco Scutaro. Marco. I know that he won a World Series with the San Francisco Giants, and for a minute turned into fucking Roy Hobbs in that World Series. It was unbelievable. Marco Scutaro is an A in my mind forever because of that. Forget about catching the final out of the NLCS in the rain with the St. Louis Cardinals in town. That's not Marco Scutaro.
He's an
Marco Scutaro is wearing green and gold in Oakland in my mind still.
Always. So that is so sad. And that essentially, I looked over and thought, oh yeah, baseball season. And then to realize and has nothing to do with the A's now. That parking lot has nothing to do with the A's. Was just stunning and sad. And I'll tip my cap also to the NFL, that you and I are so distracted by other things in the NFL that today could have been waking up Christmas morning for baseball and for the Sweet 16. Both of which are sort of pushed off our map, because even the idea that Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a home and the idea that Russell Wilson has a new one, those are still somehow items that matter more to most fans than what is happening right now in the moment. And that's it. But at least to be in LA, I'll say this, and Damon, we got to go together to a Dodger game this year, because I just want you to see what happened with what Shohei has done to Dodger Stadium, how incredible that is to have transformed even just the items to eat and drink there, the options now because of Shohei being here. It is not, he is worth whatever they're paying him. He is already the ROI on Shohei, despite how ridiculous the number is, it's already out the building.
They won the World Series, so that already paid for itself. They just went and Fanatics did $40 million of merchandise business 3 days in Tokyo for the Tokyo series. $40 million in merch. That's insane.
It's the greatest. Okay, think about America's pastime. Can we just say this for America's pastime? The greatest baseball player of any lifetime is a Japanese-born player named Shohei Ohtani.
Yep, without a doubt. Babe Ruth, suck it. You were never this. You were never this. This guy's unbelievable.
It's end of statement. It's just GOAT Shohei Ohtani, and to think what a baseball has meant to America. I mean, it's we are so lucky to be alive in this moment where this guy came over. I was so convinced when he came to the Angels, it'll work on one side of the ball, but there's no way this guy's pitching and hitting.
Right.
Wow.
By the way, how are your Angels season tickets doing?
I saw an advertisement on Roku, basically, I think through Hulu just 2 days ago, and it was catch Angels baseball here. There wasn't even a photo of Mike Trout. They showed three dudes that I swear to God, these could be people. These could be people that work in the concessions. I have no idea who these people were that were wearing jerseys, but the Angels, it's just so to think that Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout played together. To get
nothing out of it. Nothing.
We're talking. It's Damon. 3 MVPs for Mike Trout. MVP with Shohei Ohtani, obviously as well. Not a playoff win. Not a playoff win. Frankly, and with the two of them, not a playoff appearance. At least one for Trout, but not a playoff game. It is so embarrassing to know when you look back at the history of baseball to say that the two greatest players of those generations back to back played on the same team together, and you're going to say, wow, what did they do? Nothing. It's disgusting. And if Rendon doesn't play,
he's already hurt.
Right, exactly. And if he doesn't play 100 games this season, which he's likely not going to,
100 games,
it could just go down. I'd love to say that every free agent signing was a disaster for Anaheim, Los Angeles, but it hasn't been, because both Bartolo Colon and Vladimir Guerrero were tremendous, and those teams won divisions, and Vladdy won an MVP, and Bartolo was up. I think he actually won a Cy Young as well. Those worked out, but outside of those two, it's a rough list.
It ain't easy. It ain't easy being an Angels fan, that's for sure. Let's wrap up with this before we get to today in history.
Yes.
By the way, today's not a big day in history.
That's all right. We're right.
Very long. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the media between LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith, because it feels like we have crossed a line of these are just two guys who are talking about each other to now like, all right, is Stephen A. Smith challenging this guy to a fight? Is there like what is going on? What is going on? And all I'm going to tell you is that LeBron showed up in Indianapolis, and by the way, hit a game winner against the Pacers. Of course he did. And he tipped
the game winner. By the way, maybe the most incredible, like when you're talking about actual time between ball on hand and buzzer going off, it's probably number one.
So if he hadn't have cut his nails that day, it's a shot clock violation.
Correct.
But he trimmed his nails and it wasn't. LeBron talked an awful lot with Pat McAfee. Some things interesting, some things really not interesting. When people tried to pick up his quote about Giannis would score 250 points if he played in the 70s and try to run with that for real. Look, Giannis would dominate a game that was played in the 70s, but he's not scoring 250. But it's just, as Steve Kerr, who played with Michael Jordan and Tim Duncan, as he's asked about who could ever beat he's like, look, the further you get into a sports timeline, athletes don't get worse, So there's you take any modern team, put them in a time machine, throw them backwards. Yeah, there'd be a little adjusting to the physicality of the league, but they've never seen athletes and players in speed like this.
They had to figure it out.
Exactly. LeBron was talking in a lot of shit. It was a good-natured conversation that he had. And then the topic of Stephen A. Smith comes up. And LeBron destroys Stephen A. Smith right on Stephen's network. And Stephen is so jealous of Pat McAfee. That is so obvious and has been since the day McAfee signed. The fact that I don't even think they've ever been in the room together is proof of that. You telling me you're not going to put your two most popular broadcasters in the same place at the same time? Not never. So there's something there. Stephen A. Smith, look, I'm not begrudging who he is. I don't like the way he does it, but this man has created a niche for himself. I don't even think it's good for sports or sports journalism, but it's gotten him so high profile and so paid that this guy is literally now getting high off of his own supply, Sammy. And I'm just going to tell you right now, the pride always comes before the fall. And for Stephen A. Smith to be like physically challenging LeBron James in anything is comical in that LeBron James would probably end Stephen A. Smith's life in under 30 seconds if it really became a fight to the death situation. The two of you for your families go. Stephen A. Smith wouldn't make it to a standing 8 count. He'd be killed by LeBron James in physical combat. There's no doubt about that. Stephen A. is like, don't mind me. How tough, dude? You wrote about sports in Philadelphia. You were not an Eagle. You were not a Flyer. You were not a Sixer. You wrote about sports, okay? LeBron would kill you. But the pride always comes before the fall, and it really does seem like Stephen A. Smith, with his profile, with his brand new deal, and all of his money, is really buying his own bullshit now. Just a month ago, when brought up as like a possible presidential candidate, he laughed it off, saying there's no way. Just this past week, he's like, I do think I could win that primary. Like, he is officially looking for the ledge that his career falls off of. I really think that's what Stephen A. Smith is setting himself up to be pushed off the ledge.
I will challenge on one thing.
Okay.
Stephen A. Smith is in a sentence with the word President of the United States. Stephen A. Smith is in a sentence with LeBron James and quotation marks around it. As a broadcaster, as someone who covers sports, I won't even say that it is a dream of those of us who have done it over the years to end up like that, because it was so unfathomable. The idea that the athlete would be speaking about the media member, it has to show you the level to which Stephen A. has become. Stephen A. Smith is now, he is a popular noun, not just a noun, right? I mean, Stephen A. Smith is a brand. He's also even an adjective in many ways. But I mean, right. Stephen A. Smith, this shows you where he's at. Now, of course, look, small place in my heart for two reasons. Number one, obviously being raised on Philadelphia sports, always had respect for what Stephen A. did. And it wasn't that long ago that Stephen A. Smith was a writer, a very good writer, but a writer, and not, it's hard for people to imagine that grew up in what he's done over the last 8 years. But Stephen A. Smith was not always at this level. He is now. And this is proof of being at another level that really nobody in this arena will get to. Nobody will get to this place where your name is coming out of the mouth of the most influential player of our lifetime. LeBron James, when you look at social media, when you look at what he's done, there's not a more influential, because Brady was not speaking as much as LeBron James, was not changing teams as much as LeBron James, was not having television specials about where he was going to choose to play. LeBron James is the most influential athlete of many lifetimes. And he, right now, the most important person that he's talking about is not Austin Reeves, is not Luka Doncic, is not JJ Redick. It's Stephen A. Smith. And think about what Stephen A. has not only done for his own brand, but the idea that on the network that just paid Stephen A. all this money, LeBron showed up on that network. Now, maybe not with Stephen A., but on McAfee's show, on Stephen A.'s network, to now fuel this story further. Any publicity, as we say, is good publicity. And I'm sorry, but I don't want to bow at the feet of Stephen A. Smith, but I just want to say this is another incredible chapter in the rise of who Stephen A. is, that he could be in this conversation the way that he is. Not having the conversation with an opinion, but having a conversation because LeBron James not only has to say his name, wants to say his name. LeBron James is choosing his name. This isn't
talk about it. He wants to talk about it.
Clearly. It's not like McAfee introduced him to the idea that, Stephen A. Smith said something. Do you want to respond? No. This was, we all know what's happening here. The floor is yours. But Stephen A. Smith's name comes out.
Is there an element of overexposure here that the guy's just setting himself up for? I mean, remember, Cindy Crawford famously said, I was the most famous woman in the world until I was on every magazine cover in the world. And then everybody got sick of me all at once and I vanished. Like Stephen A. Smith really does feel like he is looking for his point of no return. Like if you don't want to reach the zenith of your career because there's nothing but gravity taking you down from the other side of that. You want to get to a point, you want to plateau, and you want to stay on the top of that plateau. You get to that zenith. It feels like this guy is trying to be as overexposed as humanly possible. Or maybe this is still my old dog can't learn new tricks, and I don't realize that there's no such thing as overexposure anymore. Maybe overexposure is the way to do it. Maybe being the squeakiest, most annoying, most desiring the grease that quiets you down, just loudmouth, is the way to go. Maybe this is holding my career back, Sam. Like, I actually think about what I'm going to say, and then I think about what I said yesterday, and then I make sure that both thought patterns actually align to like logically connect with each other. I just don't change my mind by the day to serve the moment.
To be the loudest, right? To be the loudest. In other words, to really psych yourself up into an opinion, there are going to be times when you would have to contradict your own opinion. Yes, that will happen. I will say this much, being a part of this industry as long as I have been, Damon, you can let go of that. The audience is not nearly as hip to your history as you are. I can say that much. The audience is not. Cold Takes Exposed is pretty good at bringing stuff up. But you know what? Go look at the list of people that Cold Takes Exposed is exposing. Those are all people making a lot of money doing this. You are going. If you're,
when I got called out on a Cold Takes Exposed a few years ago, it was a badge of honor.
Congratulations, right?
You're monitoring me. How about that?
Exactly. And the audience is interested in the moment with what you have to say about that story. Not necessarily about you being right about something you said 1,000 years ago. We just gave the Cardinals Arizona credit for saying we're wrong about Rosen. We're going with Kyler. History is okay with you saying something that you are convicted to in that moment on that day.
By the way, isn't this a conversation that you and I had about Colin Cowherd years ago? Or maybe it was the conversation I had with Goulet. But as we were talking about the different evolutions of sports talk show hosts.
Yes.
I can't remember what attribute we applied to Jim Rome, but Jim Rome made like doing an impression of the host to the host. And he cornered the market of my show has its own language and
a vocabulary. I mean,
yes. Yeah. I will add my own vocabulary and my own lexicon that makes you feel like you're in on an inside joke that only everybody in the jungle on the vine is in on. And that made it a click, and people became very loyal to their click. And then it was Goulet who said Colin Cowherd, more than anybody, monetized being wrong. He made being wrong a reason why you had to listen, because he would do his Colin was right, Colin was wrong, and people love pointing out how wrong he is. And you can't point out how wrong he is unless you're paying attention to what he says. And every single time a person who doesn't like Colin Cowherd tweets at him, "You don't know shit about sports. You suck," Colin Cowherd wins. Period. Every time that tweet happens to him. Every single time someone says, "You're wrong," he gets another $1,000 in his check.
He is smart enough to know that what I say right now matters, and getting ahead of being wrong is the only way to shut the room up. If I'm telling you I'm wrong, what do you have over me by telling me I'm wrong? If I'm like okay, right.
I'm at the end of 8 Mile.
Precisely. And if I'm ahead of my greatest fear, what are you going to do to scare me? And that's it. And we're all scared of being wrong. And Damon, I will say that lesson to you. If you're worried that you once said that Aubrey Huff had the greatest pregame routine of all time for any Giant of all time, and it becomes one day that someone does something greater than the red bikini, that's okay. You don't have to hold on to the fact that Aubrey Huff did that. You can still be impressed by something new that may happen. That's okay. That's okay. Let go of it.
I think it's just time to let go of Aubrey Huff too.
That's okay.
Anyways, look, I mean, this was a show that started somewhere. We were talking about fan outrage and grief. Then we turned it into media grief and outrage. This was a full spectrum broadcast today, Sammy. We have completed the circle, have we not? I
love that. The circle of trust. You're safe in this nest always. Anything goes. And you and I are capable. Throw anything at us, and we are capable of dissecting it both emotionally and strategically.
Eat at Ike's, drink at the Dubliner West Portal, and tell me about Bobby Made a Kishka. What is that?
Go to Stata's Hamantashen. You can now order this in stores. I used to be the only one enjoying it. Now the world can enjoy Stata's Hamantashen. Amazing cookies that you can go get from my Aunt Marlene. Stata's Hamantashen.
You got to send a box.
Oh, that's happening. Oh, that's happening.
Box to the house.
That's happening. You and Jillian will crush. Yes.
Or should I paint lamb's blood over the door and then it won't?
Well, that would ensure, that Jack and Ozzy are okay forever. Yes, but yeah.
All right, are you ready for some history?
I'm so ready, Damon. But let's go.
Here we go. Today in history, we have 2 significant birthdays to acknowledge today. Happy birthday, Mariah Carey. She's now 56 years old. 56 years old. You want to know what her single greatest contribution to music is? All I Want for Christmas Is You. She's made more money off that song than all of her songs, I believe, combined. And the beauty of that song is it sounds like she's covering something that was written by Bing Crosby.
Bing Crosby. Yes.
No, it's hers. It's hers. She wrote that. She wrote a classic Christmas tune that sounds like it's from the 40s. She did it in the 90s. And that alone, she can buy a new penthouse in Manhattan every day from the royalties of that alone.
I loved Mariah Carey in her earlier days, and so respect what she's done even in her later days. And as you said about Cindy Crawford, that exposure can sometimes, call you out. But the fact that she not only was tremendous as a performer, but the sex symbol that she was over different generations, and to hold on to it the way that she did, and even in 2 different really styles of it. Wow. From Mariah Carey.
When she went from I'm Tommy Mottola's wife at Sony or whatever it was to now I'm definitely fucking Puffy and I'm doing the what was it, the fantasy video?
Yes.
And then Old Dirty Bastard, the Mariah going back like Babies and Pacifiers. Like that was phenomenal. She had some good shit, man. She did.
So many, and picturing her, I'm trying to remember the first video where she's walking through the hallways at the school and dancing, like in the first introduction of who Mariah Carey was. She just stormed on the scene and she defined beauty for those years. Good for her.
Hot chick, talented, could hit a note that I don't think any other human could ever reach. Here's the thing: you don't have to love her, but you got to give her her due.
Absolutely.
I would say the same thing about our next happy birthday. 62 years old today, he turns. Happy birthday, Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, wow.
Not exactly making movies for everybody, yet I think his movies are great. I mean, he's fascinating. He's very much a modern cinematic genius with more callbacks to old cinema. I mean, here's the thing. They ain't making dudes like Quentin Tarantino anymore.
Are you kidding me?
They're not making guys who grew up memorizing every frame of film at a video store. They aren't. Everybody is now like learning how to become an artist on TikTok.
And by the way, the Mariah Carey, I believe it was Dream Lover 1993, the video that I'm referencing, where she's such a different version of who she ends up as. But go back and look at that. I mean, just defining sexiness for sure there as well. But in regards to Quentin Tarantino, Ode to in the Bay Area, UC Santa Cruz, the banana slug shirt that showed up in Pulp Fiction. I will forever love that as an alum and as a slug myself. But what Quentin Tarantino did to all of us with not only that movie, but obviously Kill Bill as well. But just go back and watch Pulp Fiction. For everyone that thinks they have an opinion about Quentin Tarantino, go back and watch it now and just see what genius really is.
That was awesome. And I will still tell you, as great as Pulp Fiction is, and it is his magnum opus, there is no doubt, Inglourious Bastards is also incredible. And at the end of it, Brad Pitt looks directly into the camera and says, "This is my masterpiece." So we know that he loves that one. I'm still going to go to at bat. To me, hitting cleanup in the Quentin Tarantino movie lineup, it's still Reservoir Dogs. To me. Reservoir Dogs it's one of the very few movies that I caught Pulp Fiction in the movie theater. Pulp Fiction came out, and right when I was in college, I went and saw Pulp Fiction on a Friday night. And then I went back on Saturday night and watched it again. It's the rare movie that I ever went 2 nights.
Bang Bang.
I did the Mike Breen double bang on Pulp Fiction, and I also rented and saw Reservoir Dogs on a VHS tape.
Yes,
and it's the only movie I think in my life that the minute it was over, I just rewound it and watched it again.
And that is the ultimate ode. I mean, and again, think about the amount of Tarantino movies that if they were on when you were scrolling through something and it happened to be, you're stopping and watching that movie. You lost those hours.
The Hattori Hanzo sword alone has sucked me in. I'm in.
And Jackie Brown, I see in the comments another one from
Brown's great.
Jackie Brown, Southamus. Thank you. Yes,
I love I love walking through the hallway in LAX that she walks down in the opening shot of that film. I feel I feel just like Pam Grier every time I'm in that hallway. Okay. Today in 1964, it was the Good Friday earthquake. The single most powerful earthquake in U.S. history was not the one that hit San Francisco and created the Great Fire. It was a 9.2 bone shaker in South Central Alaska. Because it was South Central Alaska, it only killed 125 people, but it did massive damage to Anchorage. Could you imagine a 9.2 level earthquake happening to either of LA or San Francisco? It would be the single biggest catastrophe in the history of catastrophes. And it feels like LA just tried to one up everybody with the fires that they went through. And we all saw what Katrina did.
I'm going to look up right now.
If the Hayward fault slips, baby, the billions of damage it's going to happen one day. Sammy's going to happen one day.
I'm looking up the 1994 Northridge earthquake, which I did live through here. It was a 6.7.
6.7.
And it rocked
Los
Angeles. 6.7.
9.2. Yeah, Zoffmus is saying, at 9.2, San Francisco goes into the ocean.
Yeah, there you go. Get the property now.
That would be bad. By the way, Postman saying, Postman and Capitola. I don't know why I call him Postman, like he's, Rastafarian.
Like Pokemon.
Postman and Capitola. Go Slugs, baby. Go Slugs. Thank you, Postman. Always good to see you. So, we don't want a 9.2. We don't want an 8.2. We don't want anything over a 6. Not never.
Not never, ever.
Speaking of shaking it and getting things done, Sam, today in 1998, the FDA approved Viagra.
Well, that's a walk-off. Been
hard on the ladies ever since.
Yeah, that pill worked and works and changed lives everywhere.
What's amazing is that they weren't trying to invent it. They weren't. That happened by accident. They were trying to come up with something else, and then they gave, the entire, you got to go through your test group, your placebo group, your, group A study, group B study, and they gave one room comes out, they got sugar pills, Nothing but limp dicks. The other room comes out, and these guys are literally harder than Chinese arithmetic.
That's tough to. It is simply. I can't think. I mean, medically, where does that stand? Right in the hierarchy of medical advancements, where is that?
I don't know.
It's up there. It's up
but
there.
I do know that this story, Viagra came out in 1998, and by the time 1999 and 2000 came around, there was a wave of syphilis going through retirement homes. So you had dudes who hadn't been able to get it up for a decade just take it out on old Betsy, 3 doors down. Oh my God!
I'm back, baby. I'm back.
I'm back. I've never tried it.
Damon, it's worth a try. It's worthy of your opinion. It's worthy of your opinion. How about that?
Poor Jillian. She's like, I don't deserve this. I don't want this. All right. Okay. Where are we here? Oh, speaking of Viagra,
yes.
We will wrap up with this because today in 2002, comedian and television icon Milton Berle passed away. Mr. Television died at the age of 93. And for those who do not know, Milton Berle apparently was packing heat.
Yes.
And Uncle Milty, the joke about Milton Berle is that he would get into penis measuring contests with everybody in old Hollywood, but he would only pull out enough to win.
That's all. Those are on the list of unbreakable records, much like Gretzky, right? Having more assists than anyone will ever have goals and assists combined.
Ovechkin is a handful of goals away.
But again, the joke is look at the total points and look at the assists. It'll never it'll never happen. But true, we thought that none of them would be broken, and good for Ovechkin, the grade 8 for sure.
So there you go. But Uncle Milty, who would only pull out enough to win. He couldn't pull it out anymore after passing away at the age of 93 today in 2002.
Unbelievable.
There was an old adage in show business that you always wanted to be the last person out of the scene.
Okay.
And in the movie A Mad World, which is one of the all-time great old-time movies of, all those great 50s, 60s comedians, Milton Berle was told specifically, stop being the last person out of every scene. And he still does it. Watch that movie just to watch who is the last person in every fucking scene that he's in. Milton Berle is in the scene longer than everybody all the time, even as they were trying to have the entire movie happen around that not happening. He still made it happen. So Uncle Milty, respect. By the way, today is Spanish Paella Day. So Big Paella ran that through with their lobbyists. It is also International Whiskey Day. And I don't have any Spanish paella here, Sammy, but I do have a bottle of Blackened right here. So to you, my friend,
take a pull, please.
It's for you. Cheers.
Love you. Cheers, D. Cheers, D. That's a beautiful finish. That's the show.
Kids, thank you so very much for watching. Tell me about the cookies again.
Stata's Hamantashen. Please go get them. Stata's Hamantashen. Stata is spelled Steta, and Hamantashen is an HAMENTASHEN. Stata's Hamantashen. Enjoy for sure.
There better be a dozen of those bad boys on my front porch in the next.
They're showing up. They're showing up.
Again, get your sandwiches at Ike's. Get your Guinness at Dubliner West Portal. Come on back here to get your sports nonsense from me and Sammy. I love that we've officially turned this into like a weekly
sit
down, get together, and we're going to keep doing it. Everyone seems to dig it. Thanks to everyone who came in today with a super. Thanks to everyone who hit the like and subscribe. And please do remember that sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, they're Hamantashen.